Hello and welcome to High Definition here on i24 News. Tonight, we go back to war-torn Iraq to meet the people hoping a new nation will rise out of the Iraqi ruins.
My heart is already state. I was there many times in the cafe, and it was a terror attack a few days ago, and I could be there also. And they want to be, when they make terror, they want to make propaganda with the terror. And the people, the people will be scared and leave the country. No, we are not. We never leave our country.
The Kurds are the world's largest nation without sovereignty. There are over 40 million of them spread around the globe, mainly in Iraq, Syria, Turkey, and Iran. Peshmerga, which means those who face death, is the military arm of the Kurdistan regional government and Iraqi Kurdistan. Its existence dates back to the mid-20th century, when Mustafa Barzani took up arms to fight for Kurdish autonomy. But the fight for independence through guerrilla resistance dates back to the origins of the Kurdish people. Their land has been the focus of centuries-old conflict. It's a land regional powers seek to dominate. The Peshmerga, a resistance force, emerged in response to the power struggles around it and was known to take refuge in the mountains. The Kurds' long-desired dream of independence has been given a new push. They hope that the storm raging across the Middle East for the past 6 years will finally see them realize their dreams of sovereignty. But for that to happen, they need to win the cruel war against the Islamic State.
You know, they have military camps, more open training, let's say budget, monies, weapons, so they will be stronger and stronger. If they will not destroy them as soon as possible, they will be big, terrible for all the world, really.
Henrique Cymerman traveled to Iraq to explore what might be a new nation in the making. He met with the president of Kurdistan, Massoud Barzani, Peshmerga Kurdish commanders and fighters. Here are the voices and pictures from a land whose people are fighting for their lives. Peshmerga, a report by Henrique Cymerman for i24 News.
Tens of thousands of ISIS forces are currently controlling a significant part of the Iraqi territory, as well as a part of Syria. In the peak of their conquests, the Islamic State controlled an area equivalent to Great Britain. The so-called Daesh in Arabic established the caliphate run by Sharia, the Islamic laws from the 7th century. Since the Islamic State's declaration of independence, the Kurdish soldiers from northern Iraq, the Peshmerga, those confronting death, are the main factor currently fighting ISIS. They are launching an offensive operation, recapturing a significant part of the territory. At a certain point, ISIS had already arrived very close to the Kurdish capital Erbil. General Sirwan Barzani is the commander leading the combats and is considered by his men to be the savior of Kurdistan. Before landing in Erbil, there are moments of relative anxiety as the Jordanian aircraft flies over a territory controlled by Islamic State.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are just landed at the Erbil International Airport.
The president of Kurdistan, Massoud Barzani, had invited us to this land to appeal to the international community. In the second largest city in Iraq, Mosul, held by ISIS since spring 2014, there is currently a long and cruel battle where the Peshmerga on the one side and the Iraqi army on the other are trying to free a city which, at its peak, numbered 2 million people. An international coalition led by the USA is constantly training and arming the forces taking part in combat. The president's aides are taking us to the most sensitive place in Kurdistan, the Mahmur combat front, where General Barzani, the president's nephew, and his men had managed to halt the Islamic State offensive, beginning to recapture territory. The combat aircrafts of the international coalition are launching continuous bombardments against Daesh. They are attacking the Islamic forces of the Caliphate, made up of Iraqis, Syrians, and thousands of Arab and Western activists who joined them throughout recent years. The Peshmerga army enjoys the support of 67 countries of the international coalition, including 10 Arab countries, and recently, organizations such as the Interpol. The battalion of Mahmur is the elite force of the Kurdish army. Sirwan Barzani, of 46 years, is the Peshmerga chief of staff. At 29 years of age, he was already ranked general and later dedicated himself to private business. In 2014, when the capital city of Erbil was beginning to be threatened by ISIS forces, his uncle, President Massoud Barzani, had asked him to return to the army and help halt the advancement of Daesh.
They're trying to go into Erbil to do the same, but thanks to God, so we're just coming and stopping them from what only center of Erbil to Daesh, and that time was 25 kilometers only.
A few minutes before we met, a group of Kurdish soldiers launched an attack on a village controlled by Islamic State.
Perspective. What you see isn't always what we see. Every evening, Debrief takes you beyond the headlines and goes inside the news of the day from a Middle Eastern perspective. The deals, the people, the surprises. Get the inside story and how it will affect you. Debrief, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Only on i24NEWS.
A few minutes before we met, a group of Kurdish soldiers launched an attack on a village controlled by Islamic State and captured 5 activists who were holding hostage a young and dressed Yazidi woman as a sex slave. 2 of the fighters were Europeans who joined Daesh. What are they looking for, in your opinion?
Really, we don't know. So many of them, they are teenagers, you know. Maybe they are here, what's they are doing with the emirs, or maybe they are coming for the fighting, or depends. Even the young boys, maybe they are coming, you know, they're here, so it's allowed when you go to occupy any place, you can have what you want from the girls, you know, and took the women's, the girls for you, because they are doing like that, really. What's happened with the Yazidin, with the Kurds. So when they are occupying any places, it's free for them to take all kill the people, the men, and took the women and the girls. So
they rape them?
Yes, that's kill them. So this is they call this is our Sharia, because we don't accept them. They are not Muslims. So when they are not accepting them as a Muslim, when you go occupy some places, kill the people, and we will take the women. It's free for us. This is the mentality of the radicals.
You arrested personally here for hours some of these ISIS fighters, and you speak with them, you see who they are. What can you tell us about the profile of these people?
Really, what the president, all of them, they are Iraqi. Nobody was foreigner. The foreigner, most of them, they are killed by the Peshmerga. There is no president, but usually we keep them maximum 2 to 3 hours as a president, because as a military, so just we will get some information, and then we have to send them to Asaish, to Erbil, the security service, because we as a military, we don't have a president here. So many of them, when we talk to them, they say, so why you are fighting us? Well, what's the reason? Because we didn't go out of our region as a Kurdish territory, Kurdish villages. And they say, no, you are helping, you are Israeli, you are imperialism, you are, you know, you're fighting behind of the let's say they called kafir countries, you know, the Western country. You are with them, you are not with the Islamic Sharia, so because that, we have to kill you. So it's more than 100...
The Peshmerga soldiers are fighting against ISIS along a border of 1,050 kilometers. In this area, they are the main military boots on the ground, trying to stop the radicals.
Enemy fighters in sight, they're all armed.
The biggest support they receive from the drones operation provided by the coalition forces and airplanes, American, French, English and Jordanian, attacking day and night the bases of Islamic State.
Oh yeah, got him.
In this case, operators of the American Air Force, located at more than a 12,000 kilometers distance in Texas, USA, or in Nevada, led these attacks by their joysticks.
Oh man,
Première pièce, tirée.
The international coalition is supported by 10 Arab countries, which are very concerned by the ISIS threat. In the attack on Mosul and in the preparations for an attack on the capital of the Islamic State in Syria, the city of Raqqa, there is American artillery and French artillery massively bombarding ISIS targets. Kurdistan is situated at the northern part of Iraq. The Iraqi flag is present in all official sites. The Kurdish president, Massoud Barzani, who leads this autonomous region since 2005, thinks that Iraq is a project that failed and that the future solution would be creating a Shiite area in the south with its capital in Baghdad, a Sunnite entity in the central region with its capital in Mosul, and the sovereign state of Kurdistan with Erbil as its capital in the north. The presidential palace is situated at a 45 kilometers distance from the capital Erbil in the zone of Salah ad-Din. The area is completely surrounded by security forces and military checkpoints. The only way to get there is via a presidential vehicle with a government registration number and security agents escorting. President Barzani agreed to break a year-long silence and discuss with us delicate topics affecting his country. What is the current situation of the fight, the Kurd fight against ISIS, against Daesh? What's happening now?
مبادرة لدست پشمرگه تقریبا 20,000 کیلومتر مربع پشمرگه رزگاری کرد لداعش تقریبا امامو ناوچکانی خومان پاک کرد و توا تتوان بلند 195 او پنجای موش بنده به هنده شوینی تراوه بلام معناوانية داعش توا يعني تهديد داعش بردوامه تا داعش لنو موصل بي تهديد بردوامه بي بو هرم.
The world knew Al-Qaeda in the last years, but ISIS is like a new phenomenon. Where do they come from?
هو داعش تشتكي تازه نية داعش امتداد قاعدة شوية القاعدة اعتمادي لسر عملياتي اغتيالات وتقنوي ترومبيل ووانبو داعش جبهه گیری کرد يعني جبهه دانو لشکری دانو به حساب خوی تنظیماتی خوی به علنی کردی و ارزی گرتو و او امکانات زوری لجيش سوری و لجيش مالکیش به دستیان کرد.
Qu'attendez-vous? 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 Et à tous ces passeports que nous a imposés cet Henrique, nous mécroyons en vous. Entre vous et nous, l'inimité et la haine sont apparus jusqu'à ce que vous croyiez en Allah seul.
President Barzani is 72 years old, and in Erbil they say that one of the main candidates to replace him in the future would be his nephew, the general. But first, it is necessary to overcome the Islamic State in Mosul and Raqqa.
Well, to Mosul, this is the plan. The Peshmerga, they will attend this operation. They will be part of that, because without the Peshmerga, because, you know, west of Mosul and north of Mosul and east of Mosul is under our control as a Peshmerga. So without our help, it's not easy even for the Iraqi army. So for this reason, even our president says, so we will be part of this operation.
It is a known fact that an important part of the Islamic State leaders are veteran Iraqi generals of former President Saddam Hussein converted into Islamists.
زوریان هربونت داعش با وکو بیرو باور زوریان و هندکشان با بیرو باوری خوانه و هاوکاریان دکن هن هاوکار.
They captured 5 Iraqi divisions from the Iraqi army. They have everything. They have tanks, they have mortars, they have American new weapons, they have Russian new weapons, because it's the Iraqi weapons, the Iraqi army weapons, they're free for them, they can buy. You know, the Americans spending more than $30 billion on Iraqi army the last 10 years, training-wise, equip-wise, you know, for weapon-wise, and same amount or more than that, the same 10 to 11 years from the Iraqi army, Iraqi government spending in the Iraqi army.
And many Iraqi soldiers became now, and Iraqi officers became now ISIS fighters, didn't they?
Of course, many of them, especially the ex and Saddam Ba'ath time officers, they joining Daesh. Yes.
Israel, the Middle East, the world. Get your daily dose every morning on i24NEWS. News from around the world to around the corner. i24 brings you the top stories, the hard news, and analysis you need to know. Weekday mornings at 6 a.m. only on i24NEWS. Unflinching, opinionated. Weeknights, David Schuster and Michelle McCory bring you analysis, interviews, and opinions that connect us to the Middle East and the world. Watch Crossroads, weeknights beginning at 6 p.m., only on i24NEWS. Every stone, every street, every scar tells the story of Israel. A place that speaks to the souls of Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike. Changed by time and conflict, its magic still echoes in the hearts of its people. Watch Holy Land Uncovered every Sunday at 11 a.m., only on i24NEWS.
i24NEWS.
There are never enough hours in the day to get everything done. That's why we're here. We bring you all the major headlines from around the world in a way you won't hear anywhere else. Perspectives, looking at the news in a different way.
Perspectives, Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m.
General Sirwan Barzani shows us the combat front with his jeep. Every movement is protected by dozens of soldiers armed to their teeth, fearing a kidnapping attempt by ISIS or a car bomb, as they normally do. The patrol at our side remove the cars traveling in the opposite direction to avoid them getting near the general.
You know, they have military camps, more open training, let's say budget, monies, weapons, so they will be stronger and stronger. If they will not destroy them as soon as possible, they will be big, big, terrible for all the world, really.
This area, front zone number 6, is responsible for protecting the capital, Erbil. The Kurds have killed thousands of ISIS men and lost hundreds of women and men in battle. The general decides to show us the Martyrs Square being constructed, dedicated to the Kurdish fallen heroes.
So this is the idea. So there will be the monument here with all the names of our martyrs and people who are losing their life for our people to stay alive.
Did you know personally someone?
Of course, many of them.
Friends or something?
One of them is my friends for more than 25 years back, and he's one of the heroes. He attacked by the RPG 4 times the tanks by his hand.
Some of the losses in the Peshmerga forces, for example in Mosul, were provoked by side bombs hidden by radicals along the roads, in homes and in the villages, taken back by the Peshmerga and the Iraqi army. How many casualties did you have with this kind of bombs?
In our casualties, I can say even the sectors, not only here in Kurdistan, I can say maybe 18% of our casualties by the IODs and the bombs and mines. So even my sector is the same, you know. Usually they're using 2 to 25 kilo, but even sometimes they connected with 200 kilo.
The Peshmerga forces also receive foreign recruits of Kurdish origin who abandon their lives to come save their native country. During the fights, they managed to recuperate some of ISIS military equipment. The Iraqi capital of Baghdad is 400 kilometers away. Nobody goes there by land. This would mean a suicide mission because of militias and ISIS controlling the roads. The Kurdish leaders still formally consider themselves affiliated to the Iraqi government and send to Baghdad large shares of their oil profits. They do not hide the fact that the ultimate dream of this autonomous area is to become the next independent state, recognized by the UN Security Council. Is a confederation a possible scenario?
والله احتمال وهيك بيلحلولي سركوتو خما بروسيك ربطي بداعش وانيه براستي يعني بيشي داعش عن دوي داعش بيشي داعش عن بروسي هبو دوي داعش دميني بلام كي دبي اما بيلكوتك دوي من لقال واني ما بعد تندو تيجي بعنف بي ليك تيجيشتن بي ليك تيجيشتن لقال ام بلام متأكد او رجع هردي.
There is any democracy way better than the referendum of the people? No. Okay, so we want to ask the referendum to be an independent country.
In Erbil, they see themselves both as damned and blessed at the same time. Blessed because the Kurdish people are deemed as a warrior and fighter population with huge natural resources, which include numerous petrol wells, a huge amount of gas, gold mines, and minerals such as magnesium. On the other hand, they consider themselves damned because they suffered a genocide of nearly 200,000 under the Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein. And now because they are forced to battle against one of the most radical movements in the history of humankind, the Islamic State. Karwan Akrai, the director of Kurdistan TV, a famous writer, affirms that the culture of head decapitations and physical violations and the selling in the markets of kafir women, the unfaithful, began long before the images distributed on YouTube by Daesh.
من بارين أفشارن وهاتت كرن شركة وليبة لدكالتورة إسلامية عربية دا أو كريارن داعش دكا مسألة جهاد ذا جهاد إسلامتية دا ذكرية جهاجي بمعنوي چندكو ذاتن الجوري ديت ناوان حكم إسلامي بسر هر آلية كده فرض كان.
The Kurdish military helicopters are aiding evacuate people from the Iraqi and Syrian towns, many of them Yazidis and Christians, constantly persecuted by the radicals. There are presently 1.5 million refugees in Erbil. They fled their cities in northern Iraq and Syria to refugee camps like this one in Ain Kawa. As soon as they heard that Daesh people are coming to get them, they ran away. There are 150 families living in the Ayoun refugee camp. They run away from the village of Karamles, situated next to the city of Karakos. Now they live 3 families on each floor or in a caravan, but the memories of the terror and fear can still be seen in their eyes.
We lose everything. ISIS are very cruel. Everyone afraid from them, everyone. Because we are Christian. We are Christian. They want from us to be Muslims, like them. And they kill every man or woman with a knife.
Politics, economics, business, and technology. Get the real news and the real insight about what's happening around the world. i24NEWS' Michelle McCory breaks down the top stories of the day from the Middle East to the U.S. Weeknights beginning at 7 p.m. Only on i24NEWS.
Terror knows no bounds.
We are transferring power.
At the end of the day, when you need to understand how the events of today are shaping your tomorrow,
Europe will be destabilized.
Top news, events, discussions, and more with analysis from Israel, the Middle East, and beyond. Perspectives, Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m. Only on i24NEWS.
You heard that Daesh killed 2 children. They shot them. And then what? You took...
Yeah.
What did you bring here?
Only some paper, original paper, and some money. We take my car and came here, only this.
And the whole village just went out like this?
Yeah, all this.
The days are long, and in the middle of the despair, the only comfort is the church of Mar Elias. They all pray in Aramaic, the language that Jesus spoke 2016 years ago. This is one of the most ancient Christian communities on the planet, but nobody knows how long it will survive.
طلعت من البيت رحت للكنيسة شفت أبونا ثابت بدينا نرحل الأهالي سواء بسياراتهم الخاصة أو بكوسترات الكنيسة سيارات خاصة مع الكنيسة نوصلهم لمنطقة الخازر وترجع السيارات تقبط وذب. أنا بالنسبة إلي قفلت الباب مال البيت بس باب الكنيسة حصرا الساعة 3 إلا ربع الفجر دخلت للكنيسة أخذت القربان خليتها بالسيارة وبقينا قاعدين ننتظر الصبح.
Gaziza Bapiri is a 28-year-old journalist who follows closely the drama of thousands of women raped and abused by the Islamic State.
What do you say to the girls in Europe, maybe in Britain, maybe in Spain, in France, that think about joining ISIS?
Do not come. I will tell them to not come, to never think about coming, because they lost themselves. I think it is the last word, because even I wanted to explain from now till the morning, it will not be enough explaining for them what will happen, but they must see the reality. 1,000 or more than 5,000 Yazidi women were being raped. Why they do not accept women? Even in ISIS, they said, if you are being murdered by a woman fighter, you will never go to the paradise.
And they are torturing minorities, I understand. The Pope said to me recently in an interview that there are more martyrs, Christian martyrs today, than in the beginning of Christianity in the 1st century. You are protecting Christians. We've been here in some different camps in Erbil. What do you intend to do in that sense to avoid more killing?
بالنسبة لي بواجبك إنساني وبواجبك اجتماعيش وانزاني وازانين طبعا هرشي بيمان بكري بو باراستيني مسيحية كان همو خلقي تركا للان داعش ومهددن اما بأرك منزاني ويارمتي من داونو بردوام اجدبين خوي باشترين شد امايا که ابي همو لها وكار بن داعش در بكري لمنطقة وانا بقرينا ابو تيجا ورقاي خويان طبعا من لقال ونيمة مسيحية كان ايرا بجي بيضا بين بودروا جارك مجموعك بياوي آيني مسيحياتنا لام بيم قلتن تشجيع خلقي كم مكان كبشنا دروا بيكي ودابين يا بآزادي همو من بيكي وداجين يا بيكي ودامرين مستحيل ايما بجيت الناهلينو و چارنوسی اما یک طبعا اما پیمان بکری که این بود پاراستنیان.
In the prison, we have some prisoners here from the Ghazwat al-Mosul. Some of them are Shia, some of them are Murtadin, some of them are Yazidi. For those who don't know what Yazidi is, they're those who worship the devil. They worship Iblis, Shaitan. So we take a look inside, inshallah. Exclusive footage. If you see here, prisoners. This is just some of the hundreds of prisoners that we have. Most of them Shia, Yazidi. Hey. Those people who raise their hands right now, they are Yazidi people. They worship Lucifer. They say that he got thrown out of Jannah, and they worship him.
Erbil, the Kurdish capital, is a center for spies from all over the world, from Iran, Turkey, Islamic State, and the Western countries. This is a strategic region and a center of great international interest. In the past, it was forbidden for a woman to sing in public. Gulisan Perwer is the first to break this taboo and is now the national singer of Kurdistan.
And you think there will be a state, Gulisan, really, in your heart? Do you think?
In my heart, it's already state. I was there many times in the cafe, and it was a terror attack a few days ago, and I could be there also. And they want to be, they want, when they make terror, they want to make propaganda with the terror. And the people, the people will be scared and leave the country. But no, we are not. We never leave our country.
The first thing the Islamic Caliphate did in 2014 was to erase the historical borders between Syria and Iraq.
As you can see, this is under our feet right now. That's Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi used to say he's the breaker of barriers. Inshallah, we'll break the barrier of Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, all the countries, inshallah, until we reach Quds, inshallah ta'ala. This is the first barriers of many barriers we will break, inshallah ta'ala. We're coming, inshallah ta'ala.
100 years ago, British and French leaders devised a map for the Middle East in what is known as the Sykes-Picot Agreement. The lines drawn with a pencil on the sand divided the Kurdish people into 4 different countries: Iraq, Syria, Turkey, and Iran. Today they are the largest population without sovereignty, over 40 million people. The Kurds' biggest dream is that the storm lived in the past 6 years in the Middle East will finally enable them to realize their dreams of independence. But before that happens, the Peshmerga know for a fact that the fight against the Islamic State is the fight of their lives.
And we're happy to have here in the studio the journalist and filmmaker Henrique Cymerman. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Michelle.
And Dr. Galia Lindenstrauss, a researcher at the Institute for National Security Studies, an expert in Turkish and Kurdish foreign policy, and of course Eliezer Tzafrir, former head of the Massoud branches in Iraqi Kurdistan, Iran, and Lebanon, associate at the International Institute for Counterterrorism at IDC Erzulia, and of course the author of Ana Kurdi. Thank you all so much for being here. So I want to begin with you, Henrique, being there and traveling in northern Iraq. Tell us a little bit about your personal experiences. This was 1 year ago, but it was in the midst of fighting. What was that like?
Well, I came back there recently, 3 months ago, for the second time, and I will be there soon again, I hope. Well, you know, first of all, the first impression is how close it is, because you fly from here at 8:30 in the morning from Israel, and you're there 3.5 hours afterwards. So, and then you have a second shock, which is the moment you are in the capital of Kurdistan, Erbil, how close the front with Daesh, with the Islamic State is. It takes 25 minutes and you are in the middle of battles between the Peshmerga, the Kurdish army, and Daesh, the Islamic State. And you see them, you see really they fight 24 hours a day. It's like a soundtrack of their lives there in the front. Is really, you hear the bombs, you hear the explosions, and that's only 25 minutes from the capital.
But within Kurdistan, inside, is there a feeling of normalcy within the city despite the fighting that happens so close by?
Yes, because in Erbil it's like a normal city. In a way it reminds Dubai. You know, very big buildings and very, you know, restaurants and shops and everything. And suddenly you get to the front after some minutes and you have this war, this huge war of the West, because the Peshmerga are there in a way representing the free world against the Islamic State.
We're taking a short break and we'll of course be back to discuss all of this and much more about the Peshmerga.
Strictly Security. Your weekly look into security, intelligence, and strategic affairs. Our team brings the latest on the major international conflicts, analysis of the major security issues right here in the Middle East and around the globe. Join us for a close look at the innovative military technology and get up to speed with what's happening in cyberspace. Saturdays, 8 p.m., only on i24NEWS.
i24NEWS.
i24NEWS' daily and breaking news show, The Rundown, where all your need-to-know stories, insight, and happenings from the Middle East and around the world come to you in the next hour. And watch as we see beyond and bring the world closer to you. The Rundown, Monday to Friday at 1 p.m., only on i24NEWS.
From our studios in the heart of the Middle East, join us for an honest conversation about what's really happening behind the headlines. A closer look at the stories making an impact in this region and beyond.
Debrief, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Unflinching, opinionated. Weeknights, David Schuster and Michelle McCory bring you analysis, interviews, and opinions that connect us to the Middle East and the world. Watch Crossroads, weeknights beginning at 6 p.m., only on i24NEWS.
Welcome back. We're still, of course, talking about the Peshmerga in Iraq, northern Iraq, and Kurdistan. Eliezer mentioned them being not just a new nation, but a very old one.
Exactly.
Do elaborate.
And they are there before the Syrians, before the Iraqis, before the Turks, not before the Iranians. They are more or less the same. So we have to bear in mind, people say 45 million, 40 million, 35. anyway, more than the Israelis and the Palestinians who do such a noise in world politics. And as you said, they still didn't get
autonomy, which is their ambition, their long ambition.
What is now the Kurds in Iraq, which is not more than 6 million, they are nearer to kind of independence, nearer than ever, because what is there since 2003 or 2005, they are having all means of independence. There is the president, who is Massoud Barzani, the son of the legendary Mullah Mustafa Barzani. They've got a parliament elected in a democratic system. They've got a
and they're strong, and they're equipped, and they're well trained.
And finally, everybody know today that they are the main element, the boots on the ground to
against
fight
the Islamic State, which is exactly a point I would like to touch upon. Galia, you're an expert of the Kurds both in Iraq and in Turkey, but if looking at the Kurds in Iraq and the same fighting and battleground that we saw in this film, would you say that this reputation is rightly so? Are they really the most effective force against the Islamic State? Can you say this today, after years of fighting?
I think in terms of ground troops, yes, they are very effective, but they need assistance. I mean, they need ammunition, they need assistance. They don't have an air force, so they need air support. And I think this is exactly the paradox that the fight with the Islamic State revealed. On the one hand, the Kurds are now in the news, they're in the headlines, we're sitting here and talking about them, and that's very good for their quest for independence. On the other hand, it revealed their weaknesses also. The Islamic State was very close to capturing Erbil, and without assistance from the West, they cannot continue fighting effectively.
So what has happened since you went and shot this film? Where would you say the Peshmerga are now, also on a morale level and also fighting de facto?
Well, when you're there, Michelle, you have the feeling you are in an independent state without being an independent state. Really, my feeling was the only Iraqi thing I saw, the only Iraqi feeling was, first of all, the stamp in my passport, and the second thing was weapons in official, the kind of, flags in the official places. You can see the president has the Kurdish flag and the Iraqi flag, but they function like a government, like an army, like with the police, with the parliament, with the TV. They have a TV channel, and they work really preparing independence. Now, when you're there, you understand that they are really in the front. At this stage now, I know I'm in contact with the General Sirwan Barzani by phone, and I spoke with him last week. They are already in parts of Mosul, and they think that Mosul is going to be the decisive fight in Iraq.
Sure, but for many months now, Mosul has been a city waited to be captured, and it's taking much longer than anticipated. So it does make me wonder, and some would say that the Islamic State perhaps cannot be entirely defeated, even by the Peshmerga. What are your thoughts on this, Galia?
I think that the Mosul is not, I mean, the Kurds do not want to remain in Mosul. I mean, this is not an area they claim to have any control about in the future. So in general, the Islamic State on the one hand is a threat on a lot of actors, but on the other hand, nobody is really committed to fight it till the end. When the Kurds, of course, when the Islamic State was close to Erbil, that was one thing, but Mosul is another thing, I think.
Now, when we talk about the Kurds, there are, of course, the Kurds in Iraq, the Kurds in Iran, the Kurds in Turkey, the Kurds in Syria, of course. What would you say is the common denominator, and is there even a sense that they would maybe reunite one day, because there are differences between them?
It's very tragic along the history and very problematic, because for the time being, there is a chance for the Kurds in Iraq and maybe an autonomy for the Kurds in Syria. The Kurds in Turkey, about 20 million. It's a tragedy. I think that in the long run, Turkey has a major problem to solve in the future. They have two problems. One is easy to solve. This is to say, publicly sorry to the Armenians. But except saying sorry, they don't. Their economical situation even is good to pay some compensations, but there is nothing more.
Sure, I
but
think
the Kurds, 20 million Kurds, all over eastern Turkey, with the capital of Diyarbakir, is a problem, a very serious problem for the future.
It's fair to say that it's a very big challenge in Turkey, as Turkey does consider them a national threat. But if one of the Kurdish communities is able to gain autonomy, perhaps there would be a trickle effect. Galia, what do you think? Is there a possibility for such a union in the future?
No, I don't see the trickle effect. I see only in Iraqi Kurdistan possibility for Kurdish independence. The Syrian Kurds are too weak. Now also Turkey is inside North Syria. They're not going to gain the autonomy. And in Turkey, basically, they're not talking about nowadays about autonomy. They want more rights, but they're not talking about an autonomy.
And Henrique, in Kurdistan, is there a feeling that the autonomy that they're hoping for is minutes away? Is it getting closer?
Well, they are discussing, for instance, if they should have a referendum about independence in the future. They believe that this is just, and they should have, in the near future, a kind of to ask the people if they want independence, and they are sure they will get it. Even if it's not easy, they know that President Erdogan in Turkey, he has a problem, a serious problem, because exactly of what you said, the influence on these 20 million Kurds that are their relatives, really. They are the same families. So they have them in the other side of the border. So why not being united with them? So there is a certain effect that preoccupies, concern really the Turkish, and that is one of the big obstacles to obtain independence.
Now, we know that the Kurds are a big ally of Western countries, and now with the U.S. and with a new presidency, the Trump administration, how do you think this could perhaps affect their plight for independence? This is a question that we would very much like to touch upon. We know that the Trump administration recognized the Kurdish entity, and I'm wondering how this is different from the previous administration. We'll discuss this in just a moment. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Americans have simply lost trust in news media.
What happened to the news? All I get is a daily serving of lies.
Do your job and just tell me the news.
I am overloaded with news that is useless.
Give me the facts. Let me sort it out. Where's the integrity?
Why is the news so biased? I will never trust the media.
Your morning going with a look at what everyone is talking about here in the Middle East, and not just news. So grab a cup of coffee and join us for an hour of style, fads, flavors, and what's going viral.
Trending, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m.
Welcome back. Just before the break, we posed the question how the new U.S. administration under President Trump is affecting and could affect the Peshmerga and the Kurdish plight for independence. Eliezer, I'd like to start with you. We know that the Trump administration recognized the Kurdish entity. Is this any different, and what is the signal to the Kurds?
Well, in fact, the Kurds since 2003, they are gaining rightly their right for independence. They are taking part. They are the ally, the northern ally of the United States. And now, as we are optimistic in Israel about Trump administration, the Kurds as well are very optimistic. And I think, generally speaking, that within time, there is no other choice but to annihilate ISIS as a geographical political identity. This is not the end of terror, not the end of jihad, all sorts of jihad. But ISIS as an entity of terror, geographical, will come to an end. And surely there will be discussions what will be the future of Iraq, for example.
Sure, but this could indeed mark a new era.
Yes.
Let's look at another people that were persecuted by ISIS. Another topic which has shaken the world in northern Iraq is the story of the Yazidi community persecuted by the jihadists, suffering a genocide in 2014, and whose women and girls are a prime target for the Islamic State slave markets. Henrique Cymerman once again also visited the Yazidi community in northern Iraq. His film will be featured on another episode of our show, but for now, here's a preview. We'll take it up for discussion when we get back. This has become one of the biggest problems the Yazidi community faces today, the exploitation and trafficking of women who are used by Islamic State as sex slaves. Zeri, a 25-year-old girl, was pregnant when she and her 2 daughters were captured by Islamic State jihadists in the Sinjar area in Iraq. Many other girls were captured as well. Some were taken to an Islamic State military base and violated as much as 10 times per day. The Sharia camp in northern Iraq is home to the largest population of Yazidi refugees. This camp has also become a home to activist Lisa Miara, an Israeli Jew who founded the NGO Springs of Hope.
This is a genocide, and I think the world should be absolutely ashamed and disgraced that the governments and powers that be did not immediately reckon this as a genocide, did not send in everything that was needed from troops to finance.
Springs of Hope works to support the Yazidi community and in the past has played a role in liberating women from the Islamic State slave markets.
We have contributed definitely to the purchase of a couple of women. There's no question about it. And it was one of those decisions. She had been sold 14, 15 times. And I broke. I broke when I saw her family, like her extended family. But we can't do it. We can't do it.
While Lisa has changed the lives of many Yazidis, she isn't very hopeful about their community's future.
Close to 500,000 people in tents, with nothing, with the situation deteriorating from month to month, whether it's summer or winter, and that terrifies me.
Wow, Henrique, so you were able to really go into the heart of the Yazidi community.
Absolutely. You know, I'm a journalist for a long time, more than 20 years. I think it's one of the hardest moments when you see a girl, 13, 14, 15 years old, who just came back from the slave market and was sold like an object for 2 years to 7, 8 men. Some of them, they paid for them $1,000, some others even not. It was like a present to a friend. And they were raped and they were tortured, and I imagine also the psychological side of their traumas for the future is amazing, and it's something that the world must know.
And we will be watching this later on the show. Thank you so much, Henrique Cymerman. I want to thank Galia Liedenstrauss and Eliezer Tzafir so much for being here today. Unfortunately, we'll have to leave the discussion at that, but don't worry, tomorrow we'll have an entire new topic and a fresh documentary. Be sure to join us. You won't be disappointed. See you then.
Who joined them throughout recent years. The Peshmerga army enjoys the support of 67 countries of the international coalition, including 10 Arab countries, and recently, organizations such as the Interpol. The battalion of Mahmoud is the elite force of the Kurdish army. Sirwan Barzani, of 46 years, is the Peshmerga chief of staff. At 29 years of age, he was already ranked general and later dedicated himself to private business. In 2014, when the capital city of Erbil was beginning to be threatened by ISIS forces, his uncle, President Massoud Barzani, had asked him to return to the army and help halt the advancement of Daesh.
They're trying to go into Erbil to do the same, but thanks to God, so we're just coming and stopping them from what only center of Erbil to Daesh, and that time was 25 kilometers only.
A few minutes before we met, a group of Kurdish soldiers launched an attack on a village controlled by Islamic State.
Perspective.
It invited us to this land to appeal to the international community. In the second largest city in Iraq, Mosul, held by ISIS since spring 2014, there is currently a long and cruel battle where the Peshmerga on the one side and the Iraqi army on the other are trying to free a city which, at its peak, numbered 2 million people. An international coalition led by the USA is constantly training and arming the forces taking part in combat. The president's aides are taking us to the most sensitive place in Kurdistan, the Mahmur combat front, where General Barzani, the president's nephew, and his men had managed to halt the Islamic State offensive, beginning to recapture territory. The combat aircrafts of the international coalition are launching continuous bombardments against Daesh. They are attacking the Islamic forces of the Caliphate, made up of Iraqis, Syrians, and thousands of Arab and Western activists.
Hello and welcome to High Definition here on i24 News. Tonight, we go back to war-torn Iraq to meet the people hoping a new nation will rise out of the Iraqi ruins.
My heart is already state. I was there many times in the cafe, and it was a terror attack a few days ago, and I could be there also. And they want to be, they want, when they make terror, they want to make propaganda with the terror. And the people, the people will be scared and leave the country. But no, we are not. We never leave our country.
The Kurds are the world's largest nation without sovereignty. There are over 40 million of them spread around the globe, mainly in Iraq, Syria, Turkey, and Iran. Peshmerga, which means those who face death, is the military arm of the Kurdistan regional government and Iraqi Kurdistan. Its existence dates back to the mid-20th century, when Mustafa Barzani took up arms to fight for Kurdish autonomy. But the fight for independence through guerrilla resistance dates back to the
Tens of thousands of ISIS forces are currently controlling a significant part of the Iraqi territory, as well as a part of Syria. In the peak of their conquests, the Islamic State controlled an area equivalent to Great Britain. The so-called Daesh in Arabic established the caliphate run by Sharia, the Islamic laws from the 7th century. Since the Islamic State's declaration of independence, the Kurdish soldiers from northern Iraq, the Peshmerga, those confronting death, are the main factor currently fighting ISIS. They are launching an offensive operation, recapturing a significant part of the territory. At a certain point, ISIS had already arrived very close to the Kurdish capital Erbil. General Sirwan Barzani is the commander leading the combats and is considered by his men to be the savior of Kurdistan. Before landing in Erbil, there are moments of relative anxiety as the Jordanian aircraft flies over a territory controlled by Islamic State.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just landed at the Erbil International Airport.
The president of Kurdistan, Massoud Barzani, had
origins of the Kurdish people. Their land has been the focus of centuries-old conflict. It's a land regional powers seek to dominate. The Peshmerga, a resistance force, emerged in response to the power struggles around it and was known to take refuge in the mountains. The Kurds' long-desired dream of independence has been given a new push. They hope that the storm raging across the Middle East for the past 6 years will finally see them realize their dreams of sovereignty. But for that to happen, they need to win the cruel war against the Islamic State.
You know, they have military camps, more open training, let's say budget, monies, weapons, so they will be stronger and stronger. If they will not destroy them as soon as possible, they will be big, terrible for all the world, really.
Henrique Cymerman traveled to Iraq to explore what might be a new nation in the making. He met with the president of Kurdistan, Massoud Barzani, Peshmerga Kurdish commanders and fighters. Here are the voices and pictures from a land whose people are fighting for their lives. Peshmerga, a report by Henrique Cymerman for i24 News.